Why didn't God make more hours in the day? I want you to know that that was me 2 nights ago as I laid in bed with my wife. Bills paid, house warm, belly full, kids flourishing, heart irritated because the work never stops. And if I could just not need sleep, did you hear that? If I could just not need sleep, I could get all the work done. That was the message I was preaching to myself. And that's the message I believe many of us are preaching to ourselves. But God, my wonderful dad, y'all, reminded me of Psalm 121 verses 1-4. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? Listen to that question. Where does my help come? The psalmist is ascending and he's wondering, where is my help going to come from? He says, my help comes from the Lord. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. See that theme? Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Do you see the theme? He doesn't rest. And yet he's calling me to rest. What is this about? As I laid in bed with a heart of anxious pride, the Lord showed me 3 beautiful things that I want you to hear one good time. I think you need this. Number 1, when facing a problem, don't look in a mirror, look to the skies. So often anxiety is just the fruit, y'all, of looking at ourselves as opposed to looking above. And it morphs into a disgusting pride. That anxiety gives birth to pride. That pride gives birth to anxiety. I was frustrated in bed because I was looking at myself. I was looking at my hands as to why God didn't make me more efficient or he didn't give me more time. And God was saying, and look at me. Put your eyes up to the hills and ask, where does your help come from? Your help doesn't come from the work. Your help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. Don't look inside where things are muddied. Look to the skies, God. Look to the skies, to God. Number 2, I want you to know that today's blessing is tomorrow's prayer request. Let me illustrate. My wife and I, we struggled to have children, and we prayed and we fasted, and the Lord has since given us 2 beautiful girls. Beautiful girls. And now we pray daily for their well-being. Did you catch that? That we prayed for a blessing, we got the blessing, and then we are now praying for that blessing. So how foolish is it to try to seek out rest the way I did and the way I'm sure you do as well in getting the work done? I will rest when the work is done. No, our rest ultimately is in the Lord. Psalm 127 verse 4, for he gives to his beloved sleep. Are we not his beloved? Child of God, you are beloved. So rest in him and in him alone. And lastly, as I laid in bed with a heart of anxious pride, feeling like the victim, asking, God, why don't you make more hours in the day? I realized through Psalm 121 that I was questioning God's goodness in leading me to sleep. I was despising his wonderful creation in sleep. Yes, God made sleep. He never needed it. He made it for our purposes. And as he made all things good, he made sleep as a part of his perfect design. But why? Why did God make sleep? God gave us sleep as a daily metaphor, as a daily reminder that even in our waking hours, we are just as dependent on him as we are when we close our eyes at night. That the sense of control that we feel during the day is nothing more than an illusion, you guys. We are like a toddler, like pedaling his bike, thinking he's accomplishing it, but it's really dad's hand behind the bike that's accomplishing all. Now we see why the Bible so often uses rest and sleep as a metaphor for faith. Matthew 11:28, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you what? Rest. Or 1 Corinthians 2 verse 5, right? So that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. Again, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men. Oh no, but in the power of God. Whether we are asleep or awake, we are just as dependent on him because he holds all of reality in his hand. Next time you're feeling anxiety, take rest as an act of faith, as an act of defiance against anxiety and pride that marry together and cling so near. Push them away and literally, y'all, take some rest. That night I got sweet rest because I was trusting that God would indeed take care of the rest.